Today's video, we're going to talk about what some people in the industry call omni-channel marketing, but specifically in layman's terms, why using more PPC channels or networks. Meaning, like Google, YouTube, Facebook, on and on and on. Why actually using more networks means more profit from a set amount of PPC budget that you have to spend on advertising, online, or in general, could be your whole marketing budget. You decide to spend it on actual advertising. How you're going to make more money being on multiple networks, at least sometimes. And I'm going to explain what that sometimes is on this particular video, as well as how much more you're going to be able to make being on multiple channels instead of just choosing to be on one. So there's a specific process that I use that's going to be able to take a little money and from that multiply what you're making over time in a structured way. I can call this OmniChannel PPC. Omnichannel is basically marketing where you're using multiple channels. Generally, that would be like saying direct mail and billboard advertising and PPC and email marketing, so on and so forth, so people can see you in multiple places. As it comes to PPC is such a big segment of the options of advertising now that really within PPC there's separate, what I call their own separate channels. Google's so much different than Facebook. Facebook's so much different than TikTok or what have you. But omnichannel PPC is something that should be as a part of your lexicon and understanding and to be a person that wants to advertise your business and get the most out of your budget, something you know about. And I'll teach you about that in this video so you can get more out of your set ad budget and it'll get you to your end revenue goals quicker. That said, it is no secret in the marketing space that omnichannel marketing works better and gets you more results out of your addressable market if your audience sees you on multiple channels. So the idea here is, if somebody sees you, a lot of people don't recognize why omnichannel marketing exists and why it works. So a lot of people just don't even know what omnichannel marketing is or whatever, or why, and then if they do know what it is, why people do it. The reason why you advertise on direct mail and billboards and radio advertising and TV advertising and all this stuff at once, i.e. omnichannel marketing as per what it's called in the advertising space and marketing space of us marketing professionals. The reason why people do it is because when you physically see somebody in multiple places like that, is just assuming you're a local attorney. If I see an ad for a local attorney on TV, on billboards and every place else, I think that attorney is like number one. Versus, of course, if I seen them on TV, I would think a lot of them. But you're going to get more out of your marketing budget splitting that budget up to at least have some coverage on both. When you have a essentially for the reason specifically that there's a psychological element to seeing someone physically on two different channels there, that you think that person is more authoritative than that if they were only seen on one channel. This just taps into human psychology, the whole factor of, when people hear something multiple times, they believe it more. When they see something said by somebody in multiple places, they think now, that person, that information is more credible. And so you're tapping into human psychology a little bit when you are choosing to advertise and split your budget up into multiple places so that people can physically see that you're trying to sell to, see you're in other places, and therefore you're the 500-pound gorilla in your space. Therefore, when it comes time to buy from you, you're the one that's more likely picked or thought of first. Therefore, you're likely picked first. So PPC and online marketing is actually no different, but there's some definite differences here given, TV advertising and radio advertising in the local attorney, situation I was talking about. Respectively, there's less levers and choices of how to do the TV advertising. Once you kind of figure out which TV stations you want on, you're done. That advertisement runs and it runs and it runs. You can refresh the advertising, but that's pretty much it. And for radio, it's the same thing. What channel do you want to advertise on? And at what, of course, what times would be the other thing. And the same thing with TV. But once you figure that kind of out, it just runs and it runs and it runs. And if you're getting good results on radio, you can take half of that budget, put it towards TV to try to presumably target the same demographics on TV, and you'll get more out of it because the people that have seen you, even though they'll see you more times or more frequently on one if you have more budget on one, since they've seen you on both, it's going to have a bigger impact in their mind about their opinion about you than because they've seen you on both. As it comes to PPC, there's lots and lots of different ways to do it wrong. The reason why people are doing more and more online advertising every year and less offline advertising is because more people are online, of course, and there's all these choices and there's opportunity to do it really, really well if you know what you're doing. And so what people will do wrong as it comes to deciding if they're going to use multiple channels, i.e. Google and Facebook and everything else, is they will, and I get this all the time, at our ad agency, is people get shiny object syndrome. People very, very often, they'll get results on just a little bit of results, let's say on Google ads. And then they'll get the shiny object syndrome and they'll say, hey, Corey, what about Facebook? What about, LinkedIn? What about taboola ads? And my simple answer to you and to everybody else out there that is, you're wondering, oh, well, I'm getting good results here. Maybe it'll be better here, or maybe it'll be better here on TikTok, and maybe it'll be better on Facebook. You advertise where there's the highest threshold of buyers highest threshold of buyers at any given time, and you master that channel one at a time, or master that channel first before moving on to other channels. So in other words, as you're trying to decide where to advertise online, which of these PPC networks, the game you're always playing online, because there's so many different options out there, is where is there going to be a highest concentration of buyers at specifically. Not where there's the most opportunity to advertise, or not what's hip. The great thing about online advertising is they give you the demographics of the users on each one of these platforms that you can advertise on, and beyond that you can sub-target whatever age, whatever gender, whatever interests, whatever behaviors they have, whatever psychographics they have, like are they high school graduate, are they not, whatever, so on and so on. What's their income like? You can go super deep with it. And you do all your research, and then you find what platform specifically has your customers in the highest concentration, because if you go there, you have the highest likelihood of making money. Respectively, if you do start out with one platform and it does work, from there it can often seem like it's going to be easy to advertise every place else. And generally speaking, it'll be easier just to ratchet up that first platform the rest of the way, because the amount of work it takes to get one platform to work is substantial. So as it comes to online advertising, you'll just want to exploit until you kind of hit like a bottleneck or hit a plateau point on that one platform, and then you can go on to other platforms. But when you do that, just don't think because you did well on one platform it's going to be easy on the rest, particularly if you do good on Google search ads. Any kind of display advertising is going to be 10 times harder, or take 10 times the amount of skill. It's not so much hard as is, Google search ads is kind of obvious how to kind of get that to work, so to say. You got to have a good ability to do copywriting and with display advertising and so forth. You got to be able to write an ad well, so on and so forth for some of these other things. But instead of randomly picking which ad networks you're going to go on, you pick the one, though, is going to be the second most likely to have the highest concentration of people that are like the people and customers or clients that you've had in the past, and then you go there next. And you keep doing that pretty much until you've kind of hit a bottleneck with it as you feel, and then you can move on to the next one. You do that instead of going on network to network to network, which the people are tempted to do, because they're like, well, what about this? Well, maybe this works better. Maybe this works better. And they'll try it for a little bit and then they'll give up on it, and they'll try this for a little bit and they'll give up on it. And it takes time with online advertising. It's not an on or an off switch like a television ad is, where it's either there and it works or it doesn't. There's algorithms. You have to be able to run the ads for a while for the algorithms on these ad networks to kind of figure out where the best placement for you is. And it takes a while. You can get really crappy results, but you'd have great results in 6 months if you just stick with it. And so your goal when you start out with a new ad platform is to know what you need to have as far as sales, or a sales target, or a cost per lead target, and then run your ads for 30 days, and then run your ads for another 30 days. And if the numbers are closer to your target the second 30 days, then presumably you should just keep with it until you hit your goal. Because as long as you're improving, you'll know you'll hit your target someday, and then you'll have what you need from it instead of just jumping platform to platform to platform. And respectively, with that said, trying to find new customers, there's less of an effect of this so-called effect of people seeing you on multiple channels, therefore they're more likely to buy from you, as it pertains to online advertising, because the web is so vast. It's not like the lawyer example that I gave you earlier, where the lawyer wants to advertise on billboards and TV and radio, because the same people, he has a small amount of people to advertise to. So the likelihood if they advertise on all three, they're going to see it on all three. Whereas if you advertise on Facebook and Google, the chances are that they're going to see you on both. It's slim, really. So in that case, it's totally different in that if you're going to try to go and gun for new customers, you don't do what the offline people that are marketing are doing. You go after one channel, you set a goal, you advertise until you hit that goal, or you realize you're not going to have any chances of hitting that goal, and then you move on to another platform, and then you do the same thing there, and then the next platform, and the next platform, and the next platform. And that's kind of the general gist of how I'm going to go about doing it, having done this for 15 years and understanding what's the most efficient way to go out doing things and so forth. And that's what I would recommend to you as far as if there's another ad platform out there that you're considering using, and i.e. stick with what you have until you've captured everything you can out of it, because it's easier to turn the dial up or make a small tweak to what you're doing than to start a whole new platform, given that new platform is going to take not only a whole new ad setup and probably a whole new landing page and funnel to do it right. And if you didn't know that that's the case, one funnel won't work exactly this. A similar funnel will work platform to platform, but it won't be exactly the same. And then the algorithm's going to have to build up its own set of data to be able to get you good results. Whereas, I got people that they had good results on Google on Facebook, or excuse me, they got good results on Facebook running their ads there for 3 years, and then they want to try Google, and then they're spoiled. They think Google is going to work in 2 or 3 months. No, you spent 3 years to build up your results on Facebook. You want those results on Google? It's going to take you 3 years to build up on Google as well. It's not a whole lot different in that regard. The algorithm, your success builds upon success. It builds upon success. You get a customer, these ad networks look at what the traits of that customer is, and then can steer your ads that you have running a little bit more in the direction. Even if you're running keyword-based ads on Google, this is the case, because the people that convert on one keyword, when somebody converts, they look within the keyword. Out of all the people that search for red shoes, they subdivide those people out into thousands of different subsections of different traits that people have that search for red shoes. And when they convert, and if somebody converts for you, they look at that person who converted, and when somebody searches for red shoes for you in the future, or searches for red shoes in the future and your ads there, or eligible to be there, Google will more so show it when that person has similar traits to the person who searched for red shoes before, not just anybody who searches for red shoes, because potentially they're trying to have there's 4 ads on the top of Google, and there's 10 people in and out of those ad spots on Google for any given search, and they're trying to find the right person for the right person who made that search, and it's not the same every time. So anyway, I think you get my point there. But moving on here, as far as when you really should use more of these PPC ad networks to your advantage, is when somebody does come to your website, all places you can run your ads is the best bet. That is where you'll see the best results out of your ad budget. Meaning remarketing, or retargeting as some people call it. Retargeting, remarketing is basically the same thing. And so with that, Whereas if you're trying to get a new customer, sticking with one platform and trying to nail it as much as you can out of it before getting the shiny object syndrome and switching to another platform and trying this for a little bit and then trying this for a little bit and not really giving the time and effort and all that to get a certain ad network to work. It's the opposite from the once somebody gets to your site, because at that point we're going back to the example I gave you earlier with the attorney. They're marketing to a small audience. Therefore, if they market on 3 channels, they're likely to be seen by the same people on 3 channels. Therefore, they're going to get the effect of, hey, this person's, they're huge. They're the authority in this space. They're on everything. When somebody gets to your site and you only have 10,000 people to market to, because that's how big your remarketing list is, so to say, then those principles come into play. And so for me, and if I'm running the campaign for my business, I'm going to run my remarketing ads on as many ad platforms as possible, wherever those customers are likely to go, and assuming I have enough people coming to my site, because some of these ad networks, they're just so small, it's not going to be worth it from the standpoint that the amount of people that you can remarket to, you'll probably annoy them, because it'll be, you have minimum budgets, and those people will get hit with ads so much that it might piss people off. So you'll have to kind of think about that as you do it. But your remarketing options are vast, more than people consider. You got Google Display Network. So through Google Ads, the Google Display Network, you can do retargeting there. And that gets you on literally millions of websites out there made by, just, Joe Schmo webmaster running a blog or a forum or whatever. And if you see ads in the banner ads on the side or of the page or whatnot, those are the places you're going to be able to get on with Google Display Network for the most. Not every website you see banner ads on that are like that are accessible through Google Display Network, but a large chunk of them are, because most webmasters use Google AdSense to monetize their sites, and Google AdSense is what you're accessing through Google Display Network and Google Ads. So that's my default one I'm going to use every single time, because that applies to every business essentially. Everybody's got customers that they can reach through there, because it's millions of websites. Facebook is the second one that I always go to for the remarketing, because that's got the most traffic essentially, at least for time on site, and kind of really YouTube has more traffic than Facebook, but usually I go to the Facebook next. In terms of the impact it seems it has on our sales doing the remarketing, I usually go there. And I'm always trying to rake stack what's the next biggest, easiest thing we can do to inch up the sales a little bit more, and doing that next. And that's what you should ultimately be doing with your PPC strategy. Evaluating all the choices. You can always evaluate all the choices. Just don't be so dumb as to, let's try that, let's try that, let's try that, and then just never giving anything the time of day to get it to actually work right. Evaluate it all, pick one, and do one until it works and set up right, and then you can move on. But also, if it's a B2B business, move on to LinkedIn remarketing, because you can do remarketing there. I'll move on to Twitter. People don't think about this, but there's only 1 or 2% of the population that really use Twitter regularly, we'll just say. But for the people that do, you're going to seem like the 500-pound gorilla when I saw you on Facebook, and now I'm on Twitter, and I see you there. And you get this psychological buildup of, perceived authority in your business, and every business doesn't matter what business you have, people are trying to see, do you do what the person needs or wants? Can you deliver to their area if you're local? Throw that in there. Can they afford what you have? And can they trust what you say? You got to knock out those 4 things in order for them to buy. Getting them to trust you is generally the hardest one, because the other stuff's just through verbally saying something, you can get that out of the way for the person. Getting them to trust you, that takes a lot of effort and time and money and resources to get that set up so every person trusts you right off the bat. the remarketing and the repetitiveness of the remarketing, and the fact that you can run multiple ads that have different messages on it that actually help the user, educate the user, shows your testimonials, your reviews, what your review scores are on different, like Trustpilot or Google reviews or whatever, and can say how you make your product or service and what your differentiation points are and where you're, and so on and so on and so on. You have these have different ads that show up for a person, educating the user on all these points that essentially you would be telling the user if you were selling them face to face. They'll be educated during this process, but with that, because they're seeing your ads so often, and also adding to that, seeing them on other platforms, which adds another element of you being able to increase your ROI from a set ad budget. This actually has a really powerful effect on somebody being able to trust what you're saying. Other brands, the other main factor of people can trust what you're saying, other than the fact that you can say what you have for reviews and testimonials, and doing the follow-up like that, is your website design, your logo design. If you get that right, and you do the follow-up like I'm talking about, where you do multiple ads and then run those ads on different platforms, the results are tremendous. Respectively, just by having multiple remarketing ads that go over, and I've talked about this on other videos, where I will literally have an ad with just one testimonial on it from a customer, and their headshot and their name and what they reviewed us at, and then the next day I'll have another testimonial from another customer show up for the user, and then the next day they'll see what our Trustpilot average rating is, and then the next day they'll see our products made in the USA, and doing that, you'll get a big increase in the amount of sales you're going to get from a set ad budget you have to invest online. Then you can kick it up another notch when you start to have these ads show up on these other platforms, because of, like I said, they think of you even more authoritative, that you have the so-called resources and wherewithal to be able to be everywhere, which it's kind of it's a fugazi. You're not really doesn't take much to get on all these platforms. They think, because they see you on all these platforms, you are the authority in your space, therefore it makes it easy for them to decide who they can trust or can just believe what you said, which results in an increase in sales from what you're doing. I can usually get, when we go from just having one network to multiple networks, or as many as we can, I should say, assuming our remarketing ads are good, which they, of course, we always make good remarketing ads that actually help the user evaluate and decide that we're a trustworthy option and we are the premium option, like I was talking to you about. Get another 10 to 100% increase in ROI, have it going from one platform to multiple platforms. So that's a whole nother opportunity for you. Let alone, it's an opportunity to be able to do multiple ads and actually do your ads from a standpoint of helping the user decide why you're better, and not just beating them over the head over and over again saying, are you ready to buy my red shoes yet? No? How about now? Oh, how about now? How about now? Which everybody does. And it really pisses people off, but when you help that user decide what's different about you, why you should be trusted, it's still sort of annoying to see ads, of course, but you're actually doing what other people should be doing with these ads. And then they have something pleasing to look at, and now they see those pleasing ads, if you will, on different platforms. Now they get educated, they more so know why they should buy from you, and they know why they should trust you because you're seen everywhere now. So you can get 10 to 100% more sales from the same exact ad budget just by having remarketing going on all the available ad platforms that would reasonably contain your customers and your market, and also if you have enough remarketing people on your remarketing list to be able to remarket there. If you're over 10,000 people on a remarketing list, or basically if you have over 10,000 people coming to your website every, we'll just say 3 months, you can basically remarket all of these other places. And if you can say that your customer are in all these places, you should advertise in all these places, because each additional one is going to ratchet up the amount of sales you're going to make and ROI you're going to get from a set ad budget you have to invest online monthly, the more you do. Given, if you're a B2B business, a lot of these networks don't make sense, potentially. If you're a B2B business, I'm still advertising on Facebook because even though that's not for business related stuff, our business consumers are still there. However, if I'm selling even for our own firm, if we're selling a PPC service, I'm not going to advertise on TikTok when that's mainly like 20-year-old kids that are not in our customer demographic whatsoever. So, you'll obviously have to scrutinize this for your own business, but don't over scrutinize, because basically, again, it's not about, a lot of these ad networks have basically a lot of young people, let's say, but 10% of them have older people, and of that 10%, you can get some extra ad impressions to your people that came to your website and get that perceived authority by doing it. So in other words, if you think there's a small sliver of traffic of people that are 30 plus on TikTok, which there is, not just younger people, and with that, I would do my remarketing on TikTok, so I could get I could also be seen there, because that's also going to increase my sales. Just as long as you see at least some potential of your customers being on that platform, I would do it, because it's going to raise your sales every time you get seen on another ad platform. There's other ad networks I didn't mention. You can get on taboola. Through taboola, those are the ads where on different news websites and stuff, where it says one small trick to melt belly fat, and other ads like electric companies hate him, and then there'll be like a 8-pack of ads at the bottom of the article to try to get you to go to like these news websites. Really, they're sending people to. I won't get into all what most people are doing with it, I guess, but essentially, though, you can get shown there, and it may seem a little cheesy and outside of what you're doing, but just being seen there is going to get more perceived authority again. So if you could come up with an article that you could put on your blog and send people to that, and it's not going to cost you much money. You might spend extra $20 a month in advertising, because barely anybody will click on it. Just the fact that 10 times more people who will see it than click on it, and it's those people who see it where your value comes in, most of it will just say. So a lot of people don't recognize that about remarketing. There's more value, actually, or just as much value, in the fact that people see your ads, internalize what you've said, think that you're an authority because you're able to advertise so-called everywhere, and the end consumer doesn't understand how this remarketing works and how much it actually costs. Of course, people want people to click through the ad and buy, but there's more value, in my opinion, just from the fact that people see it. And so when they go to get paid on Friday, they remember that they were going to buy a new set of tires, and because you remarketed to them while they were between the time that they were researching and the day they got paid, you're going to be the one that ends up with the sale, because you did a great job remarketing to that person all the things that would convince them that you're the best. And that's what remarketing is truly about. You also have TikTok. I talked about that. There's TikTok remarketing. There's YouTube remarketing, which that's in and itself done through Google Ads, but that's a huge one. I would always be doing the YouTube remarketing, because 70% of people use YouTube at some point. And so if they're on YouTube, they're watching a different video, bang, your video ad can show up. And you can do things in videos you just can't do with a banner ad and sending them back to your website, per se. There's so much depth that you can offer there. Plus, if you're speaking as or from the voice of the owner, that adds a ton more trust. Oh wow, the owner here, I can see who I'm dealing with now. And I can see he's so proud in his company, he's willing to put his face out there. If this was a scam, he wouldn't be willing to do that, or she wouldn't be willing to do that. You, of course, have remarketing on apps, and that can be done through Google Display Network / Google Ads, through the Gmob network. And so if people are on any kind of apps that have advertising on it, you can show up there. So the fact that somebody comes to your website looking for new protein powder to take to build muscle or whatever, assuming that's your market, and then maybe they were just looking at one item but they buy, you know, stuff from in that health space a lot, and then they start to see they were going to buy, but you know they weren't quite yet ready to make their plunk down their credit card to make the purchase yet, and they see you in all these different places: TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. You know, they saw you on a taboola ad, and they see you just everywhere. When they go to buy, they're going to think of you and remember you first. Therefore, they're going to come back to you at a higher rate, you'll get a sale a majority of the time once that purchase happens, even if they evaluated multiple other options. And in general, even after they purchase, you keep that going, which I always, if the clients allow us to do it, and you know, basically believe our mantra here, which is your best money spent is to average. If you do have repeat customers, you want to keep remarketing to them so that you're on the top of mind when the second purchase comes, and the third and the fourth. You can just submit in their customer's head that they'll just never go anywhere else. Why would they go anywhere else? Because you've constantly reminded them you're the best option. Therefore, it doesn't even come into their mind to go anywhere else. But that's what you're basically doing with, whether that's to try to get the first purchase or repeat purchase, you're actually, you know, trying to think of a better word. You're convincing them. You're kind of slowly brainwashing them, if you will, to say it in a non-pleasant way, that to that user, to make them think that you're the best option in the space to deal with, to do business with. If they're going to do business with somebody, they're going to be doing business with you. And this is one of basically the most effective ways of doing it, with the follow-up, doing it in a helpful way, and doing it wherever it's possible for you to do it, and cost you basically no more money to be on 5 platforms versus 1. Effectively, it is the same price. If they're, you know, you may spend, like I said, a lot of times through remarketing on TikTok, it's $10 a month. But just the fact that people saw you there, that were on Facebook and saw you there, you know, you'll get, you know, it's not just about adding linear, you know, value and sales growth to what you're doing, having 2 platforms running. If they saw you on 2 platforms, 1 + 1 isn't 2, 1 + 1 is like 3. And if they see you on 3 platforms, it just keeps compounding. The more that they see you on, the more that they see you as an authority, the more that they automatically just want to do business with you. If people are skeptical about what they see online, they want to be able to deal with somebody that they know they're not going to get ripped off by. Once they buy, they want to know they can go back to that company and return stuff, and they're not going to get the runaround, and so on and so on and so on. The best way for them to realize that is to realize you're the top one in this space, and the way that you do that is you do the follow-up. Given you can't afford to advertise and beat the top guys, if you will, on the front end to get new customers, but what you can do, the few customers you do get coming in, you can beat them on the back end with the remarketing to make people think that you're the biggest one there, but which is what levels the playing field, so to say. So anyway, that's the whole thing I wanted to share on today's video. If you liked the video, I would appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to the channel, because I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. If you want to learn a ton about how to make money with PPC, you should check out my other videos. With that said, if you have any questions about anything I talked about here, about remarketing on maybe some of these other platforms, or just the effects of how to do this, or what it would do for you, how to do it for your particular market, so on and so forth, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them here for our clients to guarantee their results. If you want to see things on a more step-by-step basis, you can find good information there as well. So that said, I'll let you go, and hope to see you on my next video. Adios.